Oh, hey, Thomas here, and we are into a brand new YouTube video all about 5 camera tricks that I use on a day-to-day basis when I'm out there making travel videos. These 5 tricks are a little bit random. There's not one theme in this video. These are literally 5 tricks, 5 little hacks that I use within my camera and around my camera when I'm shooting my travel videos, and these are going to help you out. They're simple things, they're easy things that you can just use in your videos right now and be able to walk away just on that next level with these new tricks in your bag and in your camera. Let's go. A quick shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you need a website, head over to squarespace.com/Thomas Alex Norman. Qué rico, no? All right, so trick number 1 is shutter priority on your camera when you are vlogging. This basically does 2 things. Number 1, it enables you to have that auto exposure when you're vlogging, which personally I think is incredibly important. And number 2, it enables you to stick to the 180-degree rule when you are vlogging by fixing the shutter speed so you don't start getting weird kind of blurry effects or that super sharp like Saving Private Ryan look when it's just not applicable to your video in the slightest. So let's break this down really quickly. The shutter priority setting on your camera is usually symbolized by an S on the dial on the top of your camera as a mode. What that means is that it's going to auto expose your image. Everything is going to be adjusted depending on if you have a very bright exposure in the frame. Your camera is going to adjust the other settings to compensate for that brightness. If it's very dark, it's going to boost those settings to compensate for that. But the shutter speed is going to be fixed on exactly the same point. I vlog in 25 frames per second on my Sony a7S, and what I do therefore is use the 180-degree rule to double that when I'm on my shutter speed. So I'll stick my shutter speed to 1/50, and that will be stuck there for the vlogging. Everything else, however, is auto exposed. So you've got your ISO is changing a lot, and also your aperture is changing a lot. This means that you don't have complete creative control. You can't, for example, fix a low aperture to get a nice depth of field when you're vlogging, especially in bright conditions. But what this means is it's super easy, but you're also staying to a cinematic principle, which makes everything look a lot better, a lot more filmic when you are shooting on that 180-degree rule. Big shout out to Mr. George Benson. When we were in Bali, we were comparing settings, things like that. I noticed that he always had it on shutter priority. It made total sense. Now it's all I use when I'm vlogging. However, this brings us on to camera hack trick number 2, which is all about changing your modes on your camera for fast control over your image. So when I say I always use this for vlogging. So when I say I always use this setting for vlogging, it's not actually true. I always use it when I'm pointing the camera at myself speaking, but what if I see a squirrel over there that I want to film in a nice creamy slow motion with a log profile on maybe a shutter speed of 100 because I'm filming in 50 frames per second. If I go into my camera and I'm like, I see a squirrel, and I'm like, the squirrel is going to be gone. So I just can't afford to do that. So what I do is I have a mode on my camera on the top dial, and I have custom modes. So there's usually on your camera, there's 1 or 2 custom modes that you can set. So what I do is I switch from S quickly, bam, to the custom mode number 1, and that I know is my cinematic mode. So I'm vlogging, I see a squirrel, I'm like, bam, done. Shoot the squirrel, not literally, but with my camera, and then you get that nice shot in the perfect moment. It's a very easy way to switch between stuff, switch between modes on your camera. I actually have 3, to be honest. Number 1, vlogging. That's my S. Number 2 is my custom mode number 1, which is normal cinematic video. So I have like a slight flat pixel profile. I also have a 100 shutter speed with 50 frames per second. And then I also have mode number 3, which is my super slow-mo, 120 frames per second, 250 shutter speed. And that's when I get if I want a super slow shot, I'll switch to that. And then I know that I'm getting that super slow-mo really fast. And when I figured all this stuff out, my mind was blown. Vlogging was so much easier, and I could get that cinematic control with every single thing. I tried vlogging before without auto exposure on my face, and I would just be vlogging like this, set to a kind of a mode that I thought would compensate for just about everything, But going from here, not in the sun, vlogging to here, right in the sun, everything changes. You're super blown out or you're super in the shadows. I personally need that auto exposure when I'm vlogging, but I also need that complete manual control over the ISO, the aperture and the shutter speed when I want to go cinematic. And I want to do that within the same video, so having these modes really makes sense. It's just fantastic. Tip number 3 is having the strap around your neck. This sounds like the most basic thing in the world, but it helps so much in getting you stable, usable footage, especially when your camera doesn't have built-in stabilization. By having the strap around your neck, you can pull it taut. That basically means that you're adding another point of stabilization onto your camera, and when you're shooting, everything is more stable rather than just having your hand like this. By having your strap around your neck like this, then you can have that firm base and you can start moving with ease left to right, forwards and backwards with a much more smooth predicament. I have no idea if that makes sense, but I'm going to leave it in. Predicament. You can have a smooth predicament when you are shooting. I'm sure you will know what I mean. Every time. Tip number 4 is moving whilst being zoomed in with your lens. So you'll hear a lot of the time when you have a glide cam or when you have a gimbal or maybe when you just want to get like a handheld but moving shot, people always say choose a wide lens, zoom out, because this gets not only everything in the frame, but it makes everything look more stable. If you've got like a 200mm lens and you're trying to do movements with it and you're fully zoomed in, then everything is like, the whole image is like this. But if you have a wide lens, even if you're shaking quite a bit, the image is kind of like this and it looks way less shaky to the eye. However, sometimes this look can be a little bit overused, and I think a great way to add some contrast into your videos is using a lot of movement but whilst being zoomed in to maybe 70mm or something like that on a full frame camera. This is a trick I use a lot and it gets me some really unique kind of shots. Basically what you should do, have that camera strap around your neck, or even better, use a glide camera or a gimbal. Balance it to when your lens is fully zoomed in, and then you can start moving forwards, backwards, side to side with a fully zoomed lens. This is going to give you a really unique look with backgrounds and foregrounds moving kind of across each other much more rapidly than they would with a wide lens. With a wide lens, everything seems in a interesting way. There's a lot of depth to it, there's a lot of perspective, but at the same time, everything's flat in that it kind of stays, the foreground stays with the background. But as soon as you're zoomed, foreground and background kind of do this awesome effect where things move across each other much more, and this can be a really unique look when you add in movement that and add it all into the mix. Oh my god, it's delicious! Tip number 5, look for a camera when you're buying gear, look for a camera with peaking. Peaking shows you exactly what's in focus and what isn't in focus by putting weird colors on your screen. When you're filming with peaking on, it's going to look kind of strange at first. You're not going to be used to it. It kind of like you can't actually see most of the image sometimes because things are red or yellow or whatever color you choose for your peaking. But it's super useful when you're shooting on the fly and you get used to it as well. If I have like a lens on that has an aperture of 1.8 and what's in focus is really important, but I can't see the screen properly because the sun is glaring on the screen and it's all bright and whatever, then what I'll do is have peaking and it will show me exactly what's in focus by putting like a big colored patch on the object. So if I'm filming a friend and I want to get a nice shallow depth of field shot and I can't really see, if I turn on peaking, I'll just be able to see, bam, their face is red or the background's red. And whatever is red is in focus. And as I move the focus on the camera, their face will get more or less red, and that's when I know the more red their face is, the more in focus they are. It's super important, and it's super useful when you are shooting run and gun on the fly. If you don't have this, don't worry, it's not completely necessary. I only started using it recently. I've made most of my travel videos without it, but it's one of those things that just makes your life easier, and it's a great trick to have in your camera and in your mind when you're going out there and shooting. So thank you again for Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Over there they have a really easy to use, all-in-one intuitive website building platform where you'll be able to, with no experience in coding or anything like that, build your first website super quickly and with a really slick and professional look. They have a ton of easy templates to use that all look really awesome. All the right fonts, all those elements that you look for in design are already in the Squarespace templates. All you need to do is drag and drop, and from there you can have a website done within minutes or hours of starting with Squarespace. So if you want to try them out, head over to squarespace.com/Thomas Alex Norman to start your free trial today, and you'll also receive 10% off your first purchase at Squarespace. If you guys want to get more information, if you guys want more tips, more knowledge, more tricks, and also my entire list of gear in a nice Swish PDF format, hit that link below and download the gear list. That's going to go straight to your inbox. It's also going to subscribe you to the awesome email newsletter when you get exclusive discounts on my courses, but also a lot of free information, extra stuff to support you on your travel video making journey. All right, guys, keep filming. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Oh, hey, Thomas here, and we are into a brand new YouTube video. Didn't say that right. Fucking hell. What? Never heard that one. I don't think I've heard that one before.